How's it going, guys? In today's video, I want to talk about how to choose the perfect business for you. Let's go. So I often get people that ask me, hey John, is this business a good idea or is that business a good idea? And in this video, I want to share with you my template, the things that run through my head after 16 years of business that help me decide how to pick one business idea over the other. I have a number of criteria, but I'm going to save the one that is the ultimate deciding factor to the very end. It's the one idea that if I don't have a very clear answer to, I forget the rest. So let's start off. The first deciding factor in choosing a business is that you need to know that it has a clear group of people to sell to. Sometimes when I ask people, who is your target market? They'll say the world. Everybody needs what it is that I have to offer. That's never the right answer. Unless you have the budget of Coca-Cola to market to everybody around the world, then that's certainly not your answer, because that's gonna take hundreds of millions of dollars to achieve. When you have a new business, you really need to make sure that you have a clear niche of people that you want to sell to. Someone that your service or your product will solve a problem for. So know who that is before deciding on a business. The second way to know that you're choosing a right business idea is that you will be solving a want or you'll be solving a problem for people, and ideally both. So if you have something that people really want, then there's a good chance of that being successful. If they need it, it's even better. So if somebody has a headache, they want something that is going to take care of that, and they need an aspirin, or they need ibuprofen, or they need whatever it will be. So ultimately, it's really needs, I think, that are gonna pull people in more than wants. You know, somebody might want a Lamborghini, but it doesn't mean they could afford it. So look at something that is a want, even better a need, and even best fulfills both of those. If you have a business that fulfills wants and needs, you have a very good chance of success. Third, you'll know something's a right business idea if it has a reasonable cost of acquisition. What do I mean by that? So if you are selling a bubble gum and it costs $1 for the bubble gum, but it costs you $3 to get a new client or a new customer to buy that bubble gum, then chances are you're just gonna lose money day after day. You really need to have a business idea where the cost of you getting a new customer isn't that high. So the higher the cost of your product or your service, the more money you're gonna have in your budget normally to be able to find a new customer. So make sure that if you have a low cost item that you're selling, that it also is very low cost to get new customers. Sometimes businesses will actually lose money at the beginning because they know that the average lifetime value of that customer will be up. So take, for example, that bubble gum. Maybe it costs $1 for the pack of gum, but it costs $3 to get a new customer to begin with. But they know that on average, people who try their gum are gonna buy 1,000 packs over the next 10 years. It's gonna be worth it to lose a bit of money on that first pack of gum, as long as over time, they're gonna, 100x that in sales. Fourth, you know you have a great business idea if it has monthly reoccurring income. Now, not all products are like this. Definitely gum is not like that, right? Unless you decide to do a Gum of the Month, a subscription package where you're going to get monthly revenue from that. But the types of businesses that I especially look at these days have monthly reoccurring revenue. So that really depends on how you structure your prices. If you're an attorney and somebody comes to you for a big law case, that's a lot of money once, and then you might lose them. But if you're an attorney and you have a retainer, so people can come to you and ask up to X amount of questions per month, or spend up to X amount on legal fees for you a month, that's monthly reoccurring revenue. Sometimes that person might use all of that retainer, sometimes they might not use any of it. So any type of business that has monthly reoccurring revenue is really helpful. It's kind of the business equivalent of getting a paycheck. It's just stable money that you know is going to be there month after month. It's going to help the business out with cash flow and stability. As a business owner, you're also going to sleep a bit better at night. Fifth, a little bit different than that, is you know it's a good business idea if you can make a lot per sale. Now, it's a bit different than the monthly recurring revenue idea, because if you're making monthly recurring revenue, chances are it's not going to be that high. It's going to be a smaller amount of money, but stable in most cases. However, the opposite of that is also true. If it's a business idea where each sale makes a lot, then that's also going to really help the business out if you can get consistent new customers. So being the low-cost leader is often what business owners want to do. They want to be the next Walmart. They want to be the next 7-Eleven, where they're selling items at a very low cost. But that's a really difficult business model. Whatever you're selling that for isn't the profit. That's just what you're selling it for. So if you're selling a pack of gum for $1 or even a pack of gum for $5, how many you got to sell just to pay for the rent each month? A lot. How many packs of gum do you need to sell just to pay one salary or to pay the internet bill? A lot. So having a business where you make a lot per sale is very helpful. Being the low-cost leader is normally not a good business strategy. The more you're the low-cost leader, the more you really need to make sure that you are selling a lot to make up for what you lose. And that's not easy to do, to sell a lot. It's easier to sell a little of a high-ticket item than a lot of a small-price item. I know that doesn't seem like that's how it works, that everybody's going to buy if it's low cost. But in real life, it's sometimes as hard to sell something that's expensive as something that is not expensive. The sixth way you could choose a right business for you is to make sure that it has low overhead. Now, some businesses, certainly my own business, have really high overhead. You know, for me, with a business process outsourcing company, with a digital marketing company, I have expensive leases for rent. I have to have employees that are paid above average, and on and on and on. So my overhead is really high. Whenever you have a business with high overhead, it means that you're always having to make a lot of sales just to break even, much less make a profit. Now, some businesses you might start off very small. For example, my business, I started off with just the cost of a business license and the laptop I had at the time. And I really scaled it over time. I did all the work at the beginning, and as the business made money, I hired more people. Eventually I got an office, I upgraded everything. So you don't always have to start off with an expensive business, even if the overhead will grow at time. However, whenever you can make sure that you keep overhead costs low, that is a great factor to look at in terms of a business. The lower the overhead, the less stress you're going to have, the less sales you're going to have to make. Really, just everything is going to be simplified if you have lower overhead. So be careful of any business that requires you to have high startup costs. And if at all possible, make sure that you can start off small, even for free with a lot of businesses, very small, and then really scale that over time, increase overhead over time as you have more stable, reoccurring monthly income, or more regular customers, or as you're making more sales of bigger ticket items. Very related to that is that you want to choose a business that has a high profit margin. So sometimes you might sell something that costs a lot of money, say a car, but on a car, most dealerships are only maybe making $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for the car. So people are spending a lot of money, but the actual profit margins on that car are very low. Where dealerships tend to make money is on service. So it's really the service department in most cases that's bringing in the money for that dealership, not necessarily the car. The car buys loyalty to the dealership, but it doesn't necessarily pay the bills of the dealership. So whatever you're doing, try to find something that has a high profit margin, and then you're going to have money to pay for the overhead and the other expenses that you have, and you're going to be more likely to have money left over at the end. Now, at the beginning of this video, I talked about the one deciding factor that for me is the only thing that I think about really to begin with when it comes to deciding if I'm going to start a new business or not. Regularly, I'm asked to partner with other people that are looking to start businesses. Often Purple Cow will be there providing the marketing side of it, and it's a bit of sweat equity in business. Other times, like right now, I have partners where we're starting different types of businesses together. And that is there a clear, straightforward, repeatable sales model in order to bring in new sales for the company? That sounds easy, but it's really, for me, the hardest part of any new business. You could have the best product, you could have the best service, you could have the best employees, the nicest looking logo. None of that means anything if you can't bring in sales for the business. Everything has to be paid for, right? So you've got to make sure that whatever business you're thinking of is a really clear way to bring in sales. If you bring in sales, then you could figure out the answers for most of those other things. But if you have all of those other things covered, you could have 99% or 100% profit margins, but who cares if you're not making any sales? So an example of that is someone might say, well, I'm gonna take all of my knowledge on how to play the guitar and I'm gonna create an online course for people that wanna learn how to play the guitar. It's only gonna cost me my time. I know how to film it. I can put it online myself. It's only gonna cost me my time. That's great. That's very high profit margins. You have a very defined audience, people that wanna learn the guitar. Checks all the boxes. And the profit margin on that, once you create it, is almost 100%, right? Because it's just online. However, if you don't know how to sell that, you got nothing. So always think about, do you have a clear sales strategy before deciding on a business? Anyhow, guys, I hope that these have been some helpful tips for you, some helpful advice in terms of thinking through, is something a good business idea or not? If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Purple Cow is also here. We help out small businesses to get started and to continue running and help keep overhead costs low by outsourcing to the Philippines. So if there's any way we can help with that, make sure and let me know as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Take care.